Cool. So yeah, like Tom was saying, we've known each other for quite a while, and before I was working on another company, an AI agent company for recruiting. Actually, I was here at the last AI Anote AI Day, and I was presenting on what I thought was going to be the future, which was we were back talking about chatbots back then. I was talking about agents, and it seemed like the predictions luckily worked out pretty well. So I'm here to make another prediction where I think the space is going into next, which is agentic evaluation, and specifically for voice. So yeah, like Natan was saying, I was working on an AI agent for restaurants, just building a like an AI agent that can answer phone calls, place orders, take reservations, answer general questions. But it turns out that it really sucked. It was it was high latency, it was hallucinating all the time. So my co-founder and I, we actually built an evaluation framework to test this agent. And when we were talking to our voice agent developer friends, they were more excited about the actual evaluation framework than our idea itself. So we switched. And as of a couple of weeks ago, we've been just working on an MVP for what we'd like to call Bluejay. So yeah, let's talk about real-time agentic evaluation for voice. Before that, a little bit about myself. I was a undergrad and master's at UIUC, where I studied computer science, worked in LLMs. I did research in the LLM space, specifically around context compression for LLMs. This was just around when RAG was becoming popularized as well. Um, and then after that, I moved to Microsoft, where I'm working on Azure Copilot, building out voice agents for the dev infra space, basically using Azure resources with natural language. And it's really exciting stuff. So now I'm working on Bluejay just as a side project with one of my friends from Seattle. His name is Rohan, and he's also a co-founder. And yeah, together we built this MVP for you. So I'm excited to show you guys what's going on and talk generally about the agentic evaluation space specifically for voice. So before we get into what agentic evaluation is, or I guess how we do it, let's talk about the need, right? So agentic evaluation is all about trying to figure out whether we can find ways to know when an agent is doing something incorrectly, right? To basically know what's going on with an agent. And of course, like there's the classic example when you're building fast of why do we need agentic evaluation, right? We can run the whole thing end to end. We can, run our front end and ping it, see what happens, or, have our agent call someone, and if we deem it fine, then what's the real problem here, right? But the issue with foregoing agentic evaluation in specific as compared to foregoing regular test suites when you're building really fast is that with regular test suites, when you're working with non-LLM code, you have this degree of determinism between development and production, right? Like, yeah, it's always better idea to have a test, but if you were building something in development and you tested it thoroughly enough, then you can expect it to kind of work in production because nothing's changing. But when you throw in LLMs into the mix, you add a lot of non-determinism, right? Where you have behaviors that start to emerge in production environments that are a result of the fact that the models are actually outputting different information. So that's why evaluation becomes all the more important when you're working with LLMs, specifically with LLMs that are interacting live. For example, voice agents. So you can imagine the use case of a restaurant that builds a voice agent to handle their phone calls, like their orders or the reservations, or in the sales industry where you're building a voice agent to kind of make cold calls or try to convert a customer to a demo, or in the customer service industry where you're trying to answer a question that a user has, maybe facilitate a return or get to the root cause of a problem, right? So there's many use cases here. But yeah, let's talk about what the need is besides just making sure that your production environment is steady. You also want to make sure that your tool call decisions are being accurately validated. So this is the idea of when your agent is calling an external tool, you want to make sure that it is in fact calling the tool that you wanted it to, given a certain scenario. You also want to determine the agent's faithfulness, which is all about making sure that it adheres to its RAG setup. This is different from hallucination in the sense that it can still tell the truth, but maybe it's something that's not inside your RAG code base, your essentially your vector store. So faithfulness is a really important metric here to think about. And you also want to pinpoint instances of redundancy and hallucination. Redundancy is the fact where an agent would say something again and again and again without adding any extra value, or maybe go back into a loop. This is actually very common in voice agents when for example, they're asking a customer what to order, and the customer states their order, and then in a couple seconds, the agent says, "Oh, can you tell me what to order?" again, as if it didn't hear it in the first place. So redundancy is a really frustrating user experience. So we want to cut that down, pinpoint it, and same thing with hallucination, right? And going back to the restaurant example, right? If an agent goes and says, if a user says, "Hey, can I order a cheeseburger to a dessert restaurant?" and the dessert restaurant voice agent's like, "Yeah, sounds good. I'm going to text you an order link." That would be a big problem because now the voice agent, which represents the restaurant, has just lied to the user. So we don't want to have that as well. And the final thing here is that we also want to figure out real-time customer usage patterns. It could be the case that developers thought that, maybe one pathway through their voice agent was going to be used a lot. But it turns out that like maybe 65% of users are actually using a different pathway. So if so, they maybe want to make that pathway a little bit more robust. So having that visualization and understanding of what's going on, how the users are interacting with their chatbots in a production environment is really important. So that's why we should use evaluation. Now let's talk about how we could do this. So there's four kind of ways here, and I'm going to go a bit faster because I want to go through this demo. But you can track custom metrics regarding conversational pathways, and this is just the idea of going beyond tracking the standard stuff like words per minute of your bot or latency or stuff that's very static, stuff that you can do almost numerically. I'm talking about more custom metrics, like asking questions regarding success of a phone call, depending on what success means for your industry. So that could mean something like, hey, did my order get placed correctly? Or, hey, at what point in my sales call did I lose the customer? So stuff that's a lot harder to figure out in a more qualitative manner, something that we can rely on the cognition of our agents to handle. We also want to identify cyclic pathways to reduce redundancy. And you also want to try to do heartbeat metrics. And the way you could do this is you can have simulated agents calling your production environment agent every once in a while, maybe every couple hours, maybe every couple, days, depending on what your use case is. And you get metrics from that call, like almost like a heartbeat that tells you, oh, my agent is still alive in production, even if a real user is not calling it. And that's really good so that, maybe your on-call engineers can know exactly when an agent is down and resolve the problem as fast as possible. So here's a couple companies that are kind of really good for building with voice agents. Bland and Vappy are the ones that allow you to build drag and drop agent voice flows. Deepgram and Assembly AI, these guys allow you to have transcription. They release transcription APIs, speech to text, text to speech. A lot of developers for voice agents, they actually start off on Bland and Vappy because it's nice, it's drag and drop. But then as they want more customization, they end up migrating their tech stack to using APIs from Deepgram or Assembly. And if they go really hardcore, they even try to build their own kinds of models. So now let's talk about what we're building today with Bluejay. And I'm going to go and share my screen real quick to another tab. Right here. So we haven't launched the MVP yet. So this is all local, but I do want to show you what we're building. So once again, Bluejay is an evaluation platform that evaluates AI agents across modalities and industries. So we're pre-MVP, but I want to show you what's going on. So imagine you had a restaurant phone call. I've already logged a call with an agent that I built, and I've tried to order something. And I have like this audio file that kind of represents the entire call. I'm going to put it into the platform, and I'm going to try to go around and evaluate it. So let's go ahead and log our first evaluation. And over here, you can see a couple fields here that we're going to fill out together. So this evaluation is going to be for a restaurant voice agent. And let's say that this is, an agent responsible for placing orders, or sorry, not placing orders, taking orders, let's say reservations and more, right? And then for this knowledge base, I've gone ahead and found a menu that we can use as a sample knowledge base of the restaurant that this guy is going to, be emulating. So essentially, we have like a bunch of spreads that you can order, and of course we can integrate with vector databases. But for now, you can just throw in your background as text. And then from here, maybe you want to have some custom questions that go beyond just things like words per minute that you want to figure out about your call, like success metrics almost. So let's do that. Let's add one question here that's were you able to answer every question that the user had correctly? And then let's add another one, maybe this one, right? Where we're basically saying, did the customer end up placing an order? And if so, when did this happen, right? From there, I'm going to choose this audio file, and I'm going to go find it real quick. Right here. And the goal here will be that once we log this eval, right, we're going to figure out whether we can get answers to these questions. Oh, okay. Um, Answers to these questions that we had based upon a phone call. And of course, this is way faster than listening to the whole phone call right now, like what current voice agent devs are doing to get familiar with their data. So now that people have done this, they've uploaded this scenario. They can go and check out. Oh, like there was no hallucination. Why? Oh, it's because the agent accurately described something. So no hallucination occurred according to the knowledge base that we popped in. And then with redundancy, it looks like we actually failed this check. So let's check why. And it looks like over here that the agent stated that we're sending a payment link to your phone now twice instead of once. So at some point during the call, and we'll see exactly where, that was actually said twice. And I remember when I was taking the call that is what happened. And finally, let's check out, did the customer end up placing an order? It looks like a customer placed the order. And also, this is when the order was placed. This is how long it went on for. So this is interesting information to developers. And you have like basically answers whether a goal was achieved or not for the custom questions that you tried to ask right here in a nice intuitive platform. The final thing that we're looking towards building and that we're building out really with a not so amazing UI right now is actually a pathway, a custom pathway that represents what happened in your call. So let's go take a look at this. So over here, and of course, we could definitely make the UI a little bit better, but we have an idea of the general pathway and major events that happen throughout your entire call. So let's say you didn't want to, go through this, the audio yourself, but you did want to have a high level overview of what happened. This is a great way to see it. And you can have like major things that happen. Like for example, this is when the agent asked for spreads, here's when the redundancy happened, here's when the order got placed, and so on. So this is some really exciting stuff that we're trying to work on here to try to make the entire development process for voice agents and eventually all types of agents across modalities really, really intuitive. So anyways, that's how this product works. And now let's move back real quick. And let's just do a little bit of recap. So overall, we talked about agentic evaluation for voice and the idea that it is necessary because there's a lot of discrepancies between production environments and development environments. When you guys are building your agents, a lot of things can go wrong in production. In fact, more so than if you're building with, with deterministic code, more so than if you're building with code that's not LLMs essentially, right? So you would want to use a strong evaluation framework, and that's what we're looking to build. We're going beyond just the static evaluation of like words per minute or error rate or the standard stuff that you would get when you're evaluating a voice agent. We're also trying to do more qualitative analysis where we allow a voice agent developer to ask questions about their call and see if custom goals were achieved. And eventually we want to have a nice built out interface where we can track in a graphical interface what exactly happened in a call, similar to how Bland and Vappy do, but with your custom flow, so you don't have to develop just on their platform. That's what's going on. If you're curious, please scan this QR code and join our waitlist. We're planning to release an MVP later this month. If you guys are a voice agent developer or any kind of AI agent developer, we'd love to talk to you because I think at this stage, our development's going really, really well. We just want to be able to talk to as many developer agents as possible, or as many agent developers as possible.